Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another airport update for PTS, otherwise known as the Southern Ohio International Airport, Portsmouth Southern Ohio International Airport. And this one, of course, is for May of 2025. And the time frame for this update is a late Friday afternoon. We've got some interesting additions. So I'll update everybody on information as we go. Let's go ahead and start over at Terminal B today. We're going to start at Gate B5, where we have the Spirit Airbus A320. This aircraft arrived in from Pensacola, Florida, full of spring breakers just coming back from their spring break. And this aircraft will be making the turnaround back to Pensacola after bags have been loaded on board. And next up at Gate B4, we have this Delta Connection CRJ 900, of course, operating the daily service to New York JFK. Just arrived, bags are being unloaded currently. Next door at Gate B3, we have a new aircraft. This is actually a equipment swap. This being a Delta Airlines Boeing 737-800. This aircraft arrived in from none other than Atlanta ATL. This operating what would usually be a 717 service. And the aircraft is getting catering loaded on board, as well as bags will be loaded up shortly. This aircraft, if I didn't say it already, will be making the return flight to Atlanta once all of these services are complete. And moving on next to Gate B2, we have the Southwest Boeing 737-800 in the standard livery being pushed back for a flight to Denver, Colorado, which is also where it came in from. Another new aircraft for the update, this Southwest Boeing 737-700 in the standard livery. This is just taking fuel before the return leg from Baltimore, or to Baltimore, which is actually also where it came in from, conveniently enough. Before we move over to the special visitor at the newly renovated gate next door to Southwest there, we'll go ahead and go over to the signature ramp, where we have this blue private Piper PA-28 Cherokee. This aircraft arrived in from Lebanon Warren County Airport over near Cincinnati. And we have a NetJets Challenger 600. This aircraft will be making the long journey out to Steamboat Springs in Colorado once the passengers are loaded on board. Moving on from the NetJets Challenger, in the back, we have a Wheels Up King Air 350i. This aircraft arrived in from Atlanta Peachtree PDK, and it has several maintenance crews out with it right now, as bags and fuel and a combination of all sorts of weight mishaps happened to this aircraft, and it did unfortunately suffer a tail strike on the ramp back there. So the crew is trying to rebalance the aircraft and as well as observe if it sustained any severe damage before it is cleared to be back into service. Unknown how long that will take, but nonetheless, typical Wheels Up King Air broken down on the signature ramp. I couldn't have guessed that happening in 1,000 years. But next up, we have the airport fire department, not with an emergency, but because thankfully there are no emergencies and they've got some time on their hands, checking out 3 U.S. Army CH-47 Chinooks. These all arrived in from Fort Drum up in New York and are actually making a cross-country journey to Fort Campbell in Kentucky. And they're stopping in Portsmouth for some gas and some lunch before continuing on their journey down to Fort Campbell. Back in the corner, we've got the green Phenom 300. This aircraft arrived in from Gainesville, Florida, and is overnighting. Unknown departure destination at this time. Next door, we have a orange Piper PA-28. This aircraft arrived in from the Claremont County Airport, otherwise known as Sporty's Pilot Shop's home field, I-69. And this aircraft is overnight an unknown destination at this time. Next to that, we also have a red and white Piper, or not Piper, oh my god, I'm losing my mind, Cessna 208 Caravan, Grand Caravan. This aircraft arrived from Beckley, West Virginia, and will be making a leg out to Evansville, Indiana, right now as it's taxiing out of the ramp. And with that, that should cover the signature ramp. We will go ahead and move on to Gate A1, the newly renovated gate, and its special visitor. There at the newly renovated Gate A1, we have an Icelandair Boeing 737-900 MAX. This aircraft arrived in from none other than Reykjavik in Iceland. The new service, which runs Mondays to Wednesdays and Fridays. This being filmed on a Friday afternoon. This is the Friday afternoon service from Reykjavik, and it is currently being fueled and catered for the return to Europe there. And if you notice, A1 looks a lot different than it did just one update ago. This gate can now accommodate aircraft up to the size of the Boeing 777-300ER or two Dash 8-100s for Air Appalachia under the American Eagle Appalachian Air Services, whatever I want to call that. I'm doing in the lore of this fictional airport. And essentially A1 from now on will be the wide body and international gate for the airport. It is connected directly to customs. So any international flight, regardless of if they're a partner with American or One World or wherever, they will park at this gate here because it is directly connected to the airport's customs and border protection facilities. And there are going to be more international services coming to PTS very soon. Just this summer, I announced on the airport's Instagram that the airport will be receiving service to Germany and the UK on American Airlines, Munich and London respectively, and will be serviced on American Airlines 787 and 777 aircraft types. So look forward to that come June, and that service will be seasonal and will run through October. But for now, we do have Icelandair, which is also seasonal service, just started up on May 1st, actually. And this service will run through late October. And so far, the flights are doing very well. Lots of European tourists coming to the southern Ohio, greater Appalachia area to explore nature and, quite frankly, a great area of American culture that's kind of been left behind as industry has left, but it's making a comeback. And Portsmouth and PTS is a great connection point to allow tourists and new business entrepreneurs connections to the rest of the world from southern Ohio, West Virginia, and Kentucky. But with all that aside, new Gate A1 with new international service right there. And moving on to Gate A2, we have an Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 8. This aircraft just arrived in from Seattle, Tacoma, and I believe I mentioned it in the last update that the Seattle service come June will be moving up to twice daily aboard, of course, 737 fleet types, Maxes and 900s for the most part, but an occasional 737-800 older generation will pop in. Yeah, so Seattle's moving to twice daily come the summer, but for now there's just the evening flight. The second flight will be a morning service. Kind of a red eye, but not really. But yeah, for now, there's the MAX being guided into the gate after its flight from Seattle. We have an empty Gate A3 where an American Embraer 145 just pulled out of. And next to that, we have an American CRJ 700 operated by PSA. This aircraft arrived in from St. Louis STL, a service previously conducted on the CRJ-200. This is actually the last update with an American CRJ-200, as we'll see in a little bit, due to Air Wisconsin ending their contract with Air Wisconsin to fly the CRJ-200, which is unfortunate, but it was nice to see them back again for a brief period of time after they were retired due to the pandemic. But anywho, this aircraft arrived in from St. Louis STL and will be making a flight to none other than Charlotte, North Carolina after the turn. And next to that, at gate A5, we have an American Airbus A321neo. This aircraft arrived in from Phoenix Sky Harbor and will be making the return leg to Phoenix after the turnaround. Baggage is just being unloaded now, and turnaround activities will begin. And last aircraft at Terminal A, at gate A6, we have this American Airbus A319 with the sharklets. I'm really looking to get an American A319 without the sharklets, just to throw some more variety in here. I know those are rare and more expensive, but I'm on the hunt for one. If anybody knows of a source where I could get one for a reasonable price. Anywho, this aircraft is on pushback from gate A6. It had arrived in from Dallas-Fort Worth, and it will actually be making the turn for Miami, Florida today. Flight full of spring breakers, as you may imagine. Over there on the taxiway, heading out to runway 18, we have this Gulfstream G500. Aircraft arrived in from Long Beach, California, and that is where it's heading back out to. Going over to the cargo ramp, we have this FedEx Feeder ATR 72. This aircraft arrived in from Huntington, West Virginia, and will be making the turn for Indianapolis later on today. And over at the cargo stand next to FedEx, we have a Kalitta Charter 737-400. This aircraft arrived in from Detroit YIP on an auto parts charter, and this aircraft will be making a short repositioning hop over to CVG, Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport. For those unfamiliar, this will be making their repositioning flight over to the DHL hub over there after the charter operation here has been completed. And moving on to the last 3 aircraft of the update, we'll go ahead from probably, I want to say least significant to most significant, but in terms of aircraft retirements, least significant to most. We have this American Eagle ERJ-145 operated by Piedmont. This aircraft arrived in from Philadelphia PHL and will be departing back to Philadelphia right now. On the runway, we have a red Piper PA-28 Cherokee. This aircraft arrived in from Eagle Creek, Indiana, and that is where it's heading back off to right now as it's on takeoff roll on runway 18. Really small airplane for the size of the runway, but hey, ain't no problem with that. And last but not least, positioned at the end of the taxiway getting ready for takeoff, we have this American Eagle CRJ-200 operated by Air Wisconsin. This aircraft operating the last revenue CRJ-200 flight from Portsmouth. This aircraft arrived in from this aircraft will this one arrived in from Chicago O'Hare, and that is where it's heading back out to on the very last American Eagle CRJ-200 revenue service from Portsmouth. And for that reason, we have fire trucks on standby for the water cannon salute for the farewell flight. And Chicago O'Hare, speaking of, is a new route from American. It took them long enough to get that on here. But from here on out, they're route will be operated on the CRJ 700 rather than the 200. And yeah, once again, it was great to see the CRJ 200 come back. Despite air travelers hating to fly on it, it got the job done. It was a workhorse of the fleet for American and as well as the other airlines that flew the CRJ 200 in the United States for the last so many decades. And for that, we thank, or at least I thank the CRJ for its service. And with that, I think that'll do it. Not featured in the update, but United will be, I'll just pan over to Spirit because United shares a gate with Spirit at B5. United will be launching flights to Denver, which were suspended last year, or at the beginning of this year, rather. Denver will be making a comeback and will run twice daily come June. And Chicago Air Service will go to 4 times a day rather than 2 times a day, operating between the Air Wisconsin CRJ 200s as well as the GoJet CRJ 550s. And there will be an additional once daily service to San Francisco on the Airbus A321neo, and Denver service will also be served on the Neo and the Max. It'll swap equipment here and there. But United will be making a comeback, and I'll pan over here to Southwest because also not featured in the update. But they will share a gate with Southwest come, I want to say April is when I decided in lore that they'd start it. Allegiant Air is making a comeback to PTS after years of absence, and they will be flying to Destin, Florida and Savannah, Georgia. And very excited to see those routes coming. They will share gates. Specifically B1 over there will be Allegiant and Southwest's shared gate, and B2 will remain solely Southwest, like B3 has remained solely Delta. And one last service announcement, I guess I'll go and throw it in here while I'm here. Southwest will be adding Dallas Love Field as another option out of Portsmouth, in addition to their services to Denver and Baltimore. And that flight will be mainly serviced on the new, well, old but new to me, but 737-700s of Southwest Airlines. And I think that covers it for all the new routes for today. I hope you all enjoyed the update very much. As always, thank you for watching. And for now, I bid you farewell. I'll see you all in the next one. Have a good day.